Hello everyone, welcome to the channel once again. As you can see, today I'm outside. The sun is beginning to go down. It's getting a bit cold, to be honest, but I want it to be outside because it's nice to be outside rather than stuck indoors. So let's make the most of the kind of nice-ish weather. Once again sitting on the Clio, which, if I get up and try not to fall over, is looking disgusting. Particularly the tyres, probably from driving here, I admit. Weather's been hopeless here. I should clean it, but I haven't. No video last week, so apologies for that. But this week definitely deserves a video, definitely deserves some thoughts and recollections. As I say, it's a bit cold, so I might keep it brief-ish. I've said that, but I'll fail, because I never keep it briefish. Thankfully, I've got my lovely hoodie on from Miles and Miles. You can't rally a house, but you can live in a car. Always remember that, though I suspect you wouldn't want to live in a rally car because, in my experience, they're not that comfortable. There's no way to lay down in a rally car, is there? Not really. So, yes, do check out their store. Hit the link in my bio if you haven't already. Hit the link in my bio, in fact, if you have already, because you need to. And look what they're doing. Christmas is coming up. Buy some stuff. Buy some stuff for yourself. Their Black Friday sale has started. If you use the discount code Maximum Attack, you will get 5% off. However, with their Black Friday sale now on, have a look at any other codes because you might get a bit more. But yes, check them out. Anyway, let's talk history. I have personally a slightly difficult relationship with motorsport history. I think on the one hand, as a fan, I very much enjoy the past and looking back and having all those great memories. But I also sometimes feel that we probably spend a little bit too much time looking backwards and not enough time looking forwards. However, I think this week we don't need an excuse to look back because today is Sunday. It is the 22nd of November. That means that on this day, 25 years ago, which seems impossible, Colin McRae won his first and only Drivers' Championship in the WRC, which I think is a pretty significant moment. Certainly for a British rally folk, it's very significant because he was the first Brit to win it. One of only two Brits still to this day to win it, and he was to this day also the youngest driver to win it. So lots of significant things there. Strangely for me, I don't have much memory of it. I was 11 at the time, but I don't have all that much memory of it. McRae is central to my rallying memories as a child. My earliest rallying memories, in fact, are of McRae, but in 91-92 in a Rothman's Legacy. That's what sticks with me as my earliest rallying memory. But then for some reason I kind of jump on a little bit to 97 onwards with the two-door Imprezas, the video games, you know, all that kind of thing. I think the intervening years for me were probably more about Formula 2 cars, because that's what it was in the British Championship, and also about Michelin Pilot Escorts, which are probably my favourite Group A cars. It's a tough choice between a Group A Escort and a Group A Impreza, but I think there's something about the Michelin Pilot livery, side exit exhausts, I think just about swings it, but it is close. It is close. And it's funny, isn't it, because I think for a lot of people, the McRae car that they remember is probably the 97 to 98 Subaru, the two-door wide-body WRC cars. But, you know, it was a four-door Group A car that he won his championship in, and for me, I think if I had the choice, and I don't, by the way, unfortunately, if I had the choice, I would have the Group A car in my rallying garage over the WRC car. Obviously I'd have both if I could, but if I had to pick, it would be the Group A car. I think there's something about the simplicity of a pure Group A car and probably the soundtrack of the unequal length headers of the proper Group A car. McRae and probably Bertie Fisher in Group A Imprezas are they're just something else, aren't they? Anyway, that isn't what we're talking about. Yes, 95 was significant for me, very, very significant indeed. Not just for what McRae achieved, but I think just for so many things that were happening at that time. If you look back at where we were, we had a lot of manufacturer involvement in that era. We had Toyota, Subaru, Mitsubishi, Ford. We had the drama, speaking of Toyota, we had the drama of Toyota being excluded from both Drivers' and Manufacturers' Championship with the turbo irregularity, the restrictor that wasn't really a restrictor. So that was very, very significant and led to a very strange 1996 with Toyota's factory, what were effectively factory Toyotas, turning up in some quite unusual circumstances and events that we might not have seen them on. But of course we had this titanic battle between Carlos Sainz and Colin McRae that resulted in McRae taking his first title. Significant time, and I think, you know, it's hard for I hope any rally fan to not look back on that era and smile. But I think obviously for British fans particularly, that, you know, those images of McRae and Derek Ringer jumping on top of the car at Chester Racecourse, the massive crowds on the stages, the donuts at the end, you know, that was really significant stuff. And for British fans who had been so close to rallying for so long, to finally have that champion of their own was really significant. I think for me, 95 probably brings up some slightly different stuff. I mean, the images from the RAC were incredible, weren't they? And just, you know, reflecting on McRae's performance and Ringer's performance and the team's performance at the RAC that year, I think what we were seeing was dominance. You know, that was not an easy event for McRae. He had a puncture, he had suspension damage which could have put him out of the rally. He struggled, you know, he was out of the blocks like a missile, and I don't think Sainz could touch him. However, with those issues, as the rally started to progress, we could have seen a very different outcome. But as it was, I think, you know, what we saw there was just an untouchable McRae. I think everyone who was around the team at that time has recognised that Sainz could not touch McRae on that event. McRae had that something extra, and he was just taking chunks of time, you know, at points, you know, 20 seconds a stage. It was unbelievable. And where does that come from? I mean, it comes, you know, let's not overstate it, but it comes from his talent, his ability, a little bit of home advantage, having a great car, all of those things. But I think for me, the seminal moment in 95 wasn't actually the RAC. It was the previous round in Spain, where we saw what was, in my view, one of the most significant moments in probably all of rallying history. So in that event, we saw a close battle between the two Subarus. Sainz was on home turf, and what would become, you know, a massively important image of the championship. So as we got to the end of the last day, Sainz and McRae were first and second. David Richards understandably decided, as any team boss would, that the Manufacturers' Championship was the most important thing, and that at the end, for the last day, the team would hold station first and second, get to the end, and that would leave both drivers on equal points going into the last round. Now, there seems to be quite a few accounts of what happened, about whether McRae thought that Sainz had agreed to that, whether Sainz thought McRae had agreed to it, whether there was some gentle ribbing in the last morning that egged McRae on. But what we saw was McRae fire out of the blocks on the first stage and overhaul Sainz for the lead of the rally, which obviously upset David Richards, who was there for Subaru, and we ended up with this public argument, or as near to a public argument as we've probably ever seen, about how the rally should end. And I mean, this is something that we've never seen since, and we'll probably never see again. But that moment where McRae was forced to check in to a time control late, take a time penalty, which dropped him back to second place, for me was the defining moment, because what it did is it gave him the impetus to not let anything stop him on the RAC. Nothing was going to stop him from winning the championship after that moment, I think. And I think what's really significant for me is what we have lost, perhaps, in not having moments like that. You know, team orders are nothing new. Team orders continue to this day. We see it now, you know, Adamo, Mackinnon. These are smart guys, and they know that they're there for the Manufacturers' Championship. Drivers' Championships are a nice bonus, but it's the Manufacturers' Championship that they're really shooting for. And they will shift drivers around in order to achieve that goal. We've seen that particularly with Adamo in his ruthless approach to who drives on which rally. But the way that it played out so publicly in 1995 was really significant. And that moment, I think, is really, for me at least, really what made me, or makes me, admire that era and admire McRae so much, because it was proof that nothing matters other than winning. Winning is everything. And to see that public display of emotion, you know, the argument in the back of the truck, the kicking things in the service area, that was significant, and I think it represented the purity of human drama that draws people to sport. You know, motorsport fans love cars, they love the noise, the speed, all of that stuff, but ultimately sport is attractive to us because of the human endeavour, the stories and the dramas surrounding the athletes. And what we saw there was a really pure expression of that, and that is something that we don't see now. You know, motorsport is so slick when it comes to the PR side that we just don't see that anymore. We don't see that drama play out in the same way. We get flashes of it with the stage end interviews, and I think that's a real shame. I think for me that's something that the WRC has really, really lost. I think if you look at Formula One, I think they accept and realise that a little bit of that drama is actually helpful. I think seeing a little bit of emotion and a little bit of drama here and there, and little digs at one another, and little bits of drama and intrigue between the teams, they create a bit of a buzz and a bit of energy surrounding the sport. And I think rallying probably needs to wake up to that a little bit. And it's strange, isn't it? Because if you were to look at that, and I'm sure David Richards looks back at it now and sees how beneficial that was in a way in exciting people, particularly as he moved into his role of being involved in the organisational side of the championship. I think he must see the benefit of that drama. So I think for that, looking back, that is the moment for me. That is the moment that made 95 special. The argument, the public argument, the kicking of the bucket, the mechanics and team personnel trying to slow McRae down at the end of the rally, that was just phenomenal for me, and it's something that I wish we could see more of. Obviously today they would take a different approach and may not be standing in the stages, but I think having that human drama is something that I would love to see more of. As I say, we see flashes of it, don't we, in the stage end interviews, but I don't know, I'd like to see someone kicking things around the service area a little bit. I think that's something that we've lost, and for me I think it's something that will always remain in my rallying consciousness as the sort of key element of 95. I think that was the moment that, I think you could argue that was the moment that McRae became the champion, wasn't it? Because he used that to drive him to make sure that he won in Britain. So yes, it's an important time. I would urge you to, I'm not going to promote other people too much because that would be entirely self-defeating, wouldn't it? But I would urge you to have a look on Dirtfish. ProDrive have been putting a lot of stuff on Facebook, I believe, so have a look. There's lots of great content, lots of video, and it's all worth watching again, isn't it? Maybe watch Chris Harris's tribute that he did on Top Gear, because I think that was a really good film that showed the drama of that season. So it's out there, but that's my little reminiscing session about 95. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like and subscribe, as always, if you're watching this on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or wherever. Thanks for joining me, and I will catch you again soon. And happy 25 years, Colin McRae.